Looking to take your financial knowledge to the next level? You're in the right place. Welcome to Ask Ralph, offering accounting, technical, and financial advice. Whether you're looking to save taxes or improve your business, he's got you covered. Here's your host of Ask Ralph, Ralph Eastup Jr.
Welcome back to the Ask Ralph Show. You know, most of us work hard for decade after decade with the hopes of someday being able to retire. And, you know, certainly that's a goal of most of us. But the sad part of this is that 42% of Americans have less than $10,000 saved for retirement today. And 14% have no money set aside for the future at all. Go Banking Rates, which uncovered this data, also reports that just 16% of working adults have $300,000 or more in retirement savings. But 1/3 of baby boomers have less than $10,000 in a retirement plan. Now, why is that so scary? That's so scary because they're running out of time to build themselves reasonable nest eggs. And there's a great article by TMF book nerd Maury Backman, who posted this article on March 15th of 2018. And he talks here about, you know, what are the 5 reasons Americans aren't saving for retirement today, and basically why they don't hold water. And I thought this was an excellent article to talk about. And it's something that I'm starting to see more in my practice now as my client population ages. And so let's talk about some of these things, you know, and what are the reasons that we're not saving enough for retirement? And reason number 1 they list here is I don't make enough money to save. Well, that's an interesting thought. But what it says here is the average American under 65 earns $46,409 per year. Okay. That's what we have. Now, as you may or may not know, the total maximum 401k contribution is $18,500 or $24,500 depending upon your age. Now, obviously, if you're making $46,409, it's going to be real difficult to put away $18,500. But that doesn't have to be an obstacle to you saving for retirement. One of the things it mentions in this article, if you set aside a mere $100 per month, that's less than 3% of the average worker's salary over a 40-year period, and invested at a 7% average return, which is doable. After 4 decades, you'll be sitting on about $240,000. So $100 a month equals $240,000. Now, if you double that to $200 a month, you'll actually have $479,000 if you're doing all things equal. So even making a small contribution will make a big difference. Reason number 2, I won't need retirement savings. Now I hear this a lot too. And there's this false belief that, you know, Social Security alone is going to cover your bills. But here's why that's problematic. And they really note 2 reasons here. First of all, Social Security is only designed to replace about 40% of the average worker's pre-retirement income. And let's not leave out this, you know, the big gorilla in the room here, the elephant in the room, whatever you want to call it. Social Security is facing financial problems too, my friends. And there is a distinct possibility that as early as 2034, there will be significant reduction in benefits. So if you're counting on Social Security to be your sole point for retirement, I'm afraid you're making a bad decision. And, you know, it talks here about, you know, it only designed to replace 40% of your income. What I am finding in practice is most of my clients who retire actually have a greater need for income in retirement. Now, there's a couple reasons for that, one of which they have more free time, but basically it's the cost of medical. It's the cost of medical, not only insurance, but the things that need to be done. Now, the next one here, reason 3, is there's a prioritization to paying down debt. Now, I'm not going to say that that's not a good thing. If you've got a ton of credit card debt and you're paying that down, that makes sense to me. But here's the problem with that approach. It doesn't mean you should let your retirement savings fall by the wayside. Now, one of the things they recommend here is take whatever money you're applying to your current debt each month, divide that figure in half, and put 50% into your IRA or 401k. And I think that tends to make sense. It's kind of counterintuitive financially because your return on your investments in those things are going to be lower than the credit card debt you're paying. But it does get you in the habit of paying something towards your retirement. So I think that's a good idea. And I like that 50% number. It's real simple to say, okay, let's retire 50% to debt. Let's put 50% in the retirement money. Now, another reason number 4 in this article is that your job doesn't offer a retirement plan. Now, It's estimated here that 21% of the workforce does not have access to an employer-sponsored 401k plan. Well, that stinks, but it doesn't mean that there isn't a way for you to save. The simple, individual retirement account or IRA, you can get those at most banks. You can get those online. You can get those at a financial advisory house. And anyone who has earned income can fund an IRA, and the amount you can fund currently is $5,500 for workers under 50 and $6,500 for those of 50 and over. And truth be told, if you would take that $5,500 and put it away each year, that will at least give you a sizable nest egg that you can work with in retirement. Now, so don't use that as an excuse. Don't say, well, my employer doesn't have a plan. And and I'm going to mention here, it doesn't talk about this in this article, but I see so many clients who come in, their employer does have a plan. And even worse, they may have a situation where their employer matches their plan, and I look at their W-2 and they're still not contributing. You're leaving money on the table that is a return on your investment right away. If your employer has a plan and you're not contributing to it, especially if they're matching it, you are making a huge mistake. Because what's going to happen is you're going to continue to do that, and by the time you're going to turn 60, maybe 61, you're going to start thinking about Social Security, and all of a sudden you're going to say, wow, I haven't prepared for retirement. Now, reason number 5 they put here is that you're already struggling to pay my bills. And listen, there's a lot of us who live paycheck to paycheck. And for many folks, it comes down to, I have low income. But before you convince yourself that there's no room in your budget, you have to really think about the long term. And that they give a tactic here, and I think this is kind of a cool idea. They said to lower your bills, review your expenses, decide which ones you're going to cut, and bank the difference. Going this route will not only open the door for retirement savings, but help take some of the financial pressure off at present. And it really comes down to this simple discussion. And I like the way that this article ends, and it says, would you rather struggle as a senior or retire with dignity? And I think that's what it comes down to. I think I see so many people who have made every excuse in the world for not putting away for retirement. And, and it doesn't talk a lot about this in this article, but then, another counterpoint to this is I see more older people, taking on 30-year mortgages or buying, cars with excessive payments. And I'm not going to sit here and tell people not to spend money. That's certainly not my goal. But if you've not planned for retirement, and, like we said here, if you're not putting away something every month, if you're counting on Social Security alone, if you're, paying down your debts, well, first of all, maybe you need to think about developing a budget so you're not living from paycheck to paycheck. And, if your employer is offering a plan and you're not contributing, you're missing out on things, and if you're struggling to pay your bills, it's time to have a real deep discussion, with your husband or your wife, or if you're single, work with a financial planner or work with somebody like me or an accountant and really sit down and go over, what are your plans for retirement? It's the time to take advantage of those things and make sure, even if it's just a small amount, that you're doing something to plan for retirement. So I hope this was really helpful and helps you put away some money for retirement.
You've been listening to Ask Ralph, brought to you by Saggio Accounting Plus. Please subscribe to and rate our podcast on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts, and leave us a rating and review. Our podcast is produced by Carolyn Peters. Thank you for listening, and be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at Ask Ralph Media. You can also hear me each week on 1450 WILM and on 1410 WDOV in Delaware and on the iHeartRadio app. Submit your questions or ideas for future shows by sending an email to AskRalph@AskRalph.com.
The information contained in this episode of Ask Ralph is based on data available as of the date of its release. Saggio Accounting Plus and Ask Ralph Media Inc. is under no obligation to update this content if changes occur. Applying this information to your specific situation requires careful consideration of all facts and circumstances, and any information provided is not to be considered as financial, tax, or legal advice. Please consult your tax advisor or attorney before acting on any material covered.